Welcome to our first unit of Drawing 1. We're going to be talking about contour line drawing. Contour line drawing is line drawing that observes the outer edge of forms, and today we'll be working on blind contour. Blind contour is observing the outer edge of forms by looking at an object, and what we're doing is we're looking at the edge of the object and we're drawing on the drawing surface without looking at the drawing surface, so we're only looking at the object. Today we're going to be looking at our hand and we're going to be observing the outer edge of each nook and cranny, and we're going to be following the edge of the forms, but we're only going to be looking at the hand and not at the drawing surface. So what I'd like for us to do is to grab an HB pencil and sharpen your pencil first, and what we're going to do is we're going to grab our drawing pad, and you can rest your drawing pad against a surface like a table, and you can prop it up like this. Or you can have, if you have a little tabletop easel, you could use the tabletop easel. Or if you have a drawing board like this, we can take the drawing board and we can set it on the table with a piece of paper taped to it, and we can draw that way. Otherwise, what we're going to do is we are going to start working on our drawings. So I want you guys to position your hand in a way that's more dimensional. For example, you can use a balled up fist. We can place our hand in a relaxed way. I don't want any obscene gestures, but what we can do is place it in a way that we see dimensionality. I don't want to see a flat hand placed against the drawing surface and just kind of tracing it like we'd see a singular line around it. But what I'd like for us to do is position it in a dimensional capacity. And so once we get it positioned, I want us to look only at our drawing subject. I want us to only be looking at the subject, all the nooks and crannies, and I don't want us to be looking at the drawing surface, only the hand. And what I'd like for us to do is start at a point, and I'm going to start right about here at the bottom, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my blind contour. Now we are literally going to follow every little edge. This should only be a 3-minute drawing, and it's a continuous line drawing, which means that we're not going to pick up our pencil. And we are literally going to follow every little edge of that hand. And I'm going to get around that nail bed, and I'm going to come back down around, and we're going to come back down to the bottom of that crevice there, and we're going to kind of come back up and move upward as we see that first knuckle on the pointer finger. And we're going to come up and come over, and maybe we'll see a little bit of the nail bed, and we'll come back in. And again, we're not going to be looking at our drawing surface. We're going to only be looking at our hand and following every little edge, every little contour that we see. And we're going to come back up around, and these kind of cross each other, and I'm going to draw every little thing I see. And when we're done with these shouldn't look very realistic. We should only be drawing absolutely what we think we're seeing by following the edge. We're not drawing from our brain, we're drawing what we see. And maybe I'll try to get that nail bed in there. And come back around. And we're going to come back down. Now I see that diagonal line there. And I come back up. And these overlap a little bit, so I'm just going to follow that contour right about there. Follow that one right there. And maybe I'll try to find that nail bed. Now I'm not going to lift up my pencil because I don't know where I am. So this is the palm area. And I'm going to just kind of follow up that palm and try to end at the beginning. All right, so this is my first blind contour. Again, not very realistic, but we're observing all of the details of a contour or the outer edge of forms. All right. So once we're done with our first blind contour line drawing, I want us to do about 2 or 3 more of these. I want us to find space around in the exterior and do a couple more of these line contours. Now, if you're drawing too small, you could probably do about 4 on one page, but I'm only going to require that you do 3. I'd like for us to spend 3 to 4 minutes on each blind contour, and good luck. The second drawing we're going to do is a contour line drawing of our hand, except this time it's not a blind contour. We'll be able to look at our drawing surface and we'll be able to make corrections as we see fit. For example, we're still making a contour line drawing that is a line drawing that observes the outer edge of forms, except this time we can look at the drawing surface and we can make corrections as we see fit. All right, let's get to drawing. For this contour drawing, I'd like for us to work a little larger. I'd like for it to be at least the size of our hand, if not a little larger. I want you to leave enough space that you could potentially do a second one at the top. So we would work, on the bottom or the top. For this demonstration, I'm going to use the whole piece of paper because it's easier for you guys to see in the screen. Again, we're going to position our hand in a dimensional way. We're not going to position it flat. I'd like for us to look at something that is more three-dimensional. Again, you can ball up your fist. You can position your fingers in a certain way. You can touch fingers. It doesn't matter to me. I just want us to have a posed hand. All right. For this pose, I'm going to kind of ball up my hand a little bit so it looks something like this. And again, we can look at the drawing surface while we're doing this. And this drawing should take about 15 to 20 minutes. And I'm going to move a little bit faster, but what we're going to do first is, what I like to do is to kind of map out where this thing is going to go on the paper. For example, I just kind of generally say, okay, well, here's where my hand is going to be, and I go pretty quick and kind of figure out, placement of where this hand will be. And it's kind of a good way, a quick way for me to kind of look at the hand, kind of look at its position. I'm noticing that that's wrong there. And you can use your eraser for this demonstration. And then I will, have my bent finger there. And so I'm generally figuring out my placement of where these fingers are. And there might be some foreshortening, which means the finger gets kind of has like a shorter point right here as it comes forward. And then I have another knuckle that's right here. And this just kind of gets me a good position. I can kind of see where, some of these cracks are and kind of see where it moves across my hand. So I have a general kind of drawing or positioning of the hand. And that gives me kind of like what we would call a gesture or a quick drawing of still or moving forms. And it's very fast. It should take us about a minute or two. And once I get that kind of position, then I can kind of come in and start working in that contour. Again, we'll be looking at our subject more than we'll be looking at the drawing, but we can look at the drawing simultaneously. So I'm going to just kind of move pretty fast through this one because this is just a demonstration. But I want us to be, you guys can work slow and we can work through this drawing of our hand pretty slowly so that we're really looking at all of these nooks and crannies as we work through this drawing. And I have a lot of cracks in my middle-aged hand, and we can kind of move across. We might see some more details. For example, I see some linear aspects up here. And one thing to remember is that we don't want to see any shading. And again, I'd like for it to look more like a continuous drawing. I don't want it to look like we itched and scratched around the edge. So it's really important that we move kind of smooth and kind of get all of those little nooks and crannies. And then as we get to the front, we can add our nail bed and we can kind of add some of these details that make it look more alive, so to speak. Now, again, this is just a line drawing, and we are just looking at the linear aspects of the hand. And you might see a little bit of gap. We call this the negative space, or the space we see around. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to draw the front of that hand. And again, we follow the edge of the forms just like we did in that blind contour, except in the case of this one, we're just going to, in the case of this one, we're still able to look and see where all of our forms are. And again, you know, I don't want it to be itchy and scratchy, but I do not want it to look like but I don't want it to look like it wasn't made by a human. So that means, you know, I want us to think about this in the terms that it doesn't look like a coloring book of some sort. And see that one right there. And we have that last pinky finger. And kind of comes to right there. And I see a little bit more of it out on this edge. And I'm going to see a little bit of that out there. And a little bit more of that right there that comes across. And then I come down on the bottom of the hand. Now it is a little longer of a hand, and we can come back down over here. And you know, I want us to draw all of the things that we see. So for example, I still see some of these, you know, things coming from up here that kind of come all the way down here. And I want us to see all of these, you know, cracks and crevices. For example, we have another one that kind of comes down over here. And then we have this one that kind of comes from this space right over here. And that will give us a good idea of what our hand looks like. Now, I think our hand is a little bit longer than what I'm describing it as. So you might need to kind of adjust as you see things fit. So again, you know, I want us to spend about 20 minutes on this drawing. I did this very quickly, but this is just to kind of demonstrate what I want you to do for your 20 to 30 minute drawing. I want us to kind of think about all of the different parts. I want us to draw only the lines. I don't want to see any shading whatsoever. There will be absolutely no shading. So that's super important for this particular drawing assignment. And get all of the little details that we see. And I see a little bit of linear work in here. And let's see, we see some lines in this area. And we see some lines in that area. Maybe a little bit bigger up there. All right. All right. So remember, we're going to do our 20 to 30 minute contour drawing of our hand. And remember, you can look at your paper for this one, and you can follow the edge of forms just like we did on the blind contour study. And have fun. Remember, no shading on this drawing. It's only a line drawing. Absolutely no shading. So good luck and take care. Bye.